I never want to hurt our farmers. Our farmers are great people. They keep us happy and healthy and fat.
I'm gonna skip part of that and just focus on the hurting the farmers, because he says he doesn't want to hurt them, but he is definitely hurting them. Not in the exact way that he did in his first term, although the tariffs are bad for farmers in both first and second terms. No, it's the immigration thing. He is really screwing over farmers. And I'm not talking about like hippy dippy soy farmers or whatever, although many of them are conservative. Just all of them, all over the country, farmers are hurting. Rural red state Republican MAGA red hat wearing farmers are hurting, and more of them are talking about it now. So in one particular county that Trump won 75% of the vote of just last year, farmers are losing patience apparently with the White House's promise that they're gonna come up with some sort of solution to the immigration chaos that we're experiencing right now. John Painter voted for Trump 3 times and probably would want to vote for him 1 or 2 more, but said the whole thing is screwed up. We need people to do the jobs Americans are too spoiled to do. People don't understand that if we don't get more labor, our cows don't get milked and our crops don't get picked. The US, by the way, agricultural workforce fell by about 7%, 155,000 jobs between just March and July, according to the BLS, if you can trust their numbers. But anyway, that tracks with Pew Research that found that total immigrant labor fell by 750,000 from January through July. And I know we should probably give about a minute for conservatives to stop orgasming and then come back for more news. That's actually a really bad thing because that hits some industries really hard. I know they were scary and they were brown, but they were doing very important work that nobody else wants to do. You morons. But anyway, other farmers are talking about how ICE is taking away good workers. Charlie Porter is the head of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau's Ag Labor and Safety Committee. He said it's a shame you have hardworking people who need labor and a group of people who are willing to work, and they have to look over their shoulder like they're criminals. They're not. John Painter, the guy we talked about earlier, said he initially turned to migrant labor during Trump's first term when he struggled to find willing workers. He hired this Mexican couple, they worked for him for 2 years, and then eventually the husband was pulled over while visiting family in New York. He was arrested, put in removal proceedings. He apparently had falsified papers, so they held him for a year and eventually deported him back to Mexico. His wife and children followed. They were just working on a farm. The guy needed them. They weren't hurting anybody. They weren't breaking any real laws, and now they're gone, and that guy lost his workers. He says if they're here working and paying their taxes, they're not troublemakers. But the issue is like, and I'm glad that he's speaking out. It should have been obvious that Donald Trump wasn't actually just going for the worst of the worst. He literally began his political career lying about Mexicans and calling them murderers and rapists. This guy was never gonna be nuanced about this thing. He despises them based on their identity. Now that said, I don't wanna be too hard on the farmers. They're doing these interviews, but JR, what do you think?
It's multiple levels here. We're talking about the workforce, which I mean, every other time any kind of, which I was a part of, many Democrats would complain about this. They were like, well, you guys want to keep this slave labor. I agree. Why did we keep this slave labor going up and exploit these folks' positions here in this country? That was the first problem. So now that they're remedying that, who do you think they're gonna try and put for those exploitative positions now? On top of the fact that many of these farmers are also losing their farms because of this economic collapse that the president is purposely putting on this country with all these tariffs and exports and imports and how much they're gonna have to pay for anything that they then even trying to sell, on top of not being able to even deliver their product. They're being screwed over 4 or 5 different ways. But again, as long as you say, be aware, you might have a trans person be near you one day on the streets. You better vote for me again. For some reason, they're willing to like sacrifice their entire lives for that and then complain later. The extreme stupidity of folks in this country that's allowed us to be a part of following behind this rabid racist that's running the country, along with his group of his cabal of racists along with him. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess one day, ironically, those chickens are gonna come home to roost. There just won't be much of a rooster house to even deal with anymore. Yeah. It'll be already destroyed by then.
No, they can roost. There's just nobody to get the eggs, I guess, at that point. Yeah, it's so boneheaded, and it was so obviously we said all of this before it was done. Unfortunately, not enough people listened. But you can share this channel, and maybe more people will in the future.